Okay, this is 6.4, solving quadratic equations using the quadratic formula. Remember the quadratic formula was introduced previously. The formula says x is equal to negative b plus and minus radical b squared minus 4ac, all divided by 2a. So in this problem, they want us to use the equation, solve the equation 2x squared plus 13x plus 3 equal to 0. It's going to have two solutions. And they want your answer to be 3 decimal places or as exact expressions. So first identify your A, B, and C. Remember that when it's the y equal to ax squared plus bx plus c, where this is usually your 0, A, B, and C represent the coefficients of your polynomial. So in this instance, our A value is a 2, B is a 13, C is a 3. These are the values you're going to use to replace B, A, and C in your quadratic formula. So we become x equals negative, and in parentheses, I'm going to stick the 13 plus and minus 13 in parentheses power of 2, square it, minus 4, because that's part of the formula, times the A value. A is a 2, C is a positive 3. And we're dividing that by 2 times our A value, which is a 2. Do the arithmetic inside the radical. So we have negative 13 plus minus. 13 squared is 169 minus 4 times 2 is 8, and 8 times 3 is 24. All divided by 2 times 2, which is a 4. Simplify inside the radical. So we become negative 13 plus and minus radical 145 divided by 4. Remember, they want us to have two situations, and it's a plus minus. So we have two equations. First, figure out what the square root of 145 is. Just take your calculator. Second radical, 145. I'm going to go 3 decimal places. 12.04, the 1 after it is a 5, so it makes it a 2. So 12.042 is what I'm going to use. So we have negative 13 plus and minus 12.042 divided by 4. So we have two situations. A pause, we're adding 12.042 to negative 13 and subtracting from it. So negative 13 plus 12.042 divided by R4 results in negative 0.23. Now it says 9.5. That 5 is going to make that 9 become a 10. So we end up with negative 0.240 for one option. And then remember that we're now subtracting, so negative 13 minus the 12.042. Divide that by 4. And we get negative 6.2605, which that 5 makes that 0 become a 1. So our other number is negative 6.261. Moving on to the next example. In this one, they gave us the equation 8r squared plus 18r minus 5 equals 0. So they use the variable r as opposed to x. It's the same thing. They gave us this equation of r equals n plus and minus radical d over m. Remember, the n represents in the square root the b. The d is the combination of your discriminant inside, because that's what it's called. And your m is what you're dividing by. So first thing they want us to do is we're not worrying about simplifying it. We're just setting up our equation. So we're going to identify our a, b, and c in this instance. So the a value is going to be an 8, the b is a 18, and the c is a negative 5. So we need to first figure out what represents n, the d, and the m. So you're taking your equation. Remember, it's negative of the, because we're using the radical form, square root of the quadratic. So positive 18 plus and minus 18 squared minus 4 times 8 times a, now negative 5, all divided by 2 times our 8. We're not simplifying at all in this, we're just coming up with our setup. So we have negative 18. Do the arithmetic inside, so we're going to do 18 squared. Giving us 324 minus, it's 4 times 8, so negative 4 times 8 is negative 32 times another negative 5 makes it positive 160. And 2 times 8 is 16. Simplify the math inside, so we're adding. So we have negative 18 plus and minus. So 160 plus our 324. It's 484 in the radical over 16. So our n is negative 18. Our d is 484. And our m is 16. For part A. That's what they want us to do. Part B requires us to go ahead and simplify. So remember, we had r equaled negative 18 plus and minus. It was 484 all divided by 16. There's our n, our d, and our m. So we have two situations occurring here. We're going to do negative 18 plus the square root of 484 divided by 16, and then negative 18 minus the square root of 484 divided by 16. So we need to figure out what the square root of 484 is. So we're going to go second radical, 484, tells us it's an even 22. So now our equation becomes negative 18 plus 22 divided by 16, which means negative 18 minus 22 divided by 16. Do the math here. I'm short $18, but found 22. I have $4 out of 16, which reduces to 1/4. Short 18, short 22, which means I am short 40 divided by 16. 40 and 16 are factors of the number 8. 40 divisible by 8 makes it negative 5. 16 divided by 8 is a 2, so 5 halves. 1/4 and negative 5 halves are our answer. Next example. So in this one, they gave us an equation that says k parentheses of 2k minus 1 equal to positive 5. Again, same setup. They want us to identify, are using a k now instead of normally this is an x. But since the equation is using k's, we changed our x to a k. So it's always going to apply. Same thing, same breakdown. This is representing our negative b. The d is your discriminant, which is inside the radical, which is b squared minus 4ac, and you're dividing by m. So first thing we need to do is use distributive property, because I need to figure out what my equation is. So become 2k squared minus k equaling positive 5. But we're not set up in the quadratic to do quadratic formula. We need to move the 5. It's crossing the bridge, so we need to subtract it to the left. So our equation is 2k squared minus k minus 5 equal to 0. So in order to figure out our quadratic formula, our a is represented by the value of 2. The b is the negative 1 because that k, in order for it to exist, has a coefficient of 1. The c is a negative 5. So we're going to set up our equation. Negative of negative 1 because b happens to be a negative 1. And I put in parentheses plus and minus. Negative 1 squared minus 4 times our a, which is a 2, times our c, which is negative 5. All divided by 2 times our a value. Do our arithmetic here. So we're changing the sign. Negative makes it positive 1 plus minus. Negative 1 in a parentheses squared makes it positive 1. Negative 4 times 2 is negative 8. Negative 8 times the negative 5 makes it positive 40 over 4. Simplifying here, so we become 1 plus minus 41 over 4. So the n is a positive 1, the d is a 41, and your m is a positive 4. for part A. Part B, they want you to solve it, and they want you to round at least to 2 decimal places, and this is this problem. So bring my equation setup that we had. 1 plus and minus radical 41 over 4. Remember, plus minus means you have 2 scenarios. Scenario 1 means 1 plus square root of 41 divided by 4, and then 1 minus the square root of 41 divided by 4. Again, pull your calculator, find out what square root of 41 is. So second radical 41. I'm going to go 2 decimal places, so 6.403. The 3 doesn't do anything for it, so I'm going to go with 6.40. So 1 plus 6.40 divided by 4. 1 minus 6.40 divided by 4. Do your arithmetic here. So if I had $6.40, I found $1. I'm at 7.40 divided by 4. I had $1, but I spent 6, so I'm negative 5.40 divided by 4. So finish the problem. 740 divided by 4 results in 1.85 for one option, and then negative 5.40 divided by 4 is negative 1.35. So remember, you will always have a plus minus situation. There will be always 2 scenarios. The only time that this will change is if they're asking you to use units of measurement. So if you're trying to find length, time, distance, those are units of measurement, so you will only do positive answers. Next example. So on this problem, it says find the x-intercepts of a graph of the function y equal to negative 2x squared plus 4x minus 1. Yes, you can plug this into a graphing calculator, but since your values for when does it hit the x-axis, because that's what x-intercepts mean, when does your graph line cross the x-axis, you result in decimal answers and they're not going to be exact. So the best way to find this algebraically is using the quadratic formula. So we're going to identify our A, B, and C. Negative 2 represents A, positive 4 is B, and negative 1 is C. So we have negative B plus and minus radical B squared minus 4AC. You don't have to keep writing your equation down, the formula. I just do it for something to reference. So negative of positive 4 plus minus 4 squared minus 4 times our A, which is negative 2, times our C, which is negative 1, all over 2 times negative 2. Do our arithmetic inside here. So we get negative 4 plus minus 4 squared is 16. Negative 4 times negative 2 is positive 8. Positive 8 times a negative 1 is negative 8. 2 times negative 2 is negative 4. So right now, we see negative 4 plus and minus the square root of positive 8 divided by negative 4. So we have 2 situations. Remember, negative 4 plus square root of 8 divided by negative 4. Negative 4 minus square root of 8 divided by negative 4. So square root of 8 is 2.8. I'm going to go with 2 decimal places, so 2.83. So we have negative 4 plus 2.83 divided by negative 4, and negative 4 minus 2.83 divided by negative 4. So do your arithmetic on top. So I'm short $4, but I found $2.83. And I divide, so I have a negative 1.17, but I'm dividing that by negative 4. I'm going to go 2 decimal places, so 0.29. So we have 0.29 as one value. You're going to do the next one, so negative 4, and I'm going to spend another $2.83 I didn't have, which is negative 6.83, and divide that by negative 4, and you result in if I'm going 2 decimal places, I'm going to go 1.7. That 0 has a 7 after it, so 1. So 1.71. Next example. So earlier I talked about using the plus or minus situations for the square root formula. Only in instances of units of measurement do we only use positive answers. So in this problem it says a rectangle is 9 miles longer than it is wide. Find the dimensions of the rectangle if its area is 252 square miles. So they tell you 9 miles longer than it's wide. So width is going to be represented by the variable x. The length says it is 9 miles longer than it's wide. So it's the width plus 9, which represents x plus 9. So if I draw a rectangle, the width is x and the length is x plus 9. They tell you that the area is 252 square miles. So the A value is 252. So first identify your units and what your key is going to be. Sketch a picture, label your size, length and width, area. Remember the formula for area of a rectangle is area is equal to length times width. So I'm going to use substitution. A is 252, x times x plus 9. If I want to use quadratic formula, I need to first distribute on the right side. So 252 equals x squared plus 9x. Subtract 252 to the right side. So 0 is equal to x squared plus 9x minus 252. Okay, so we're at this point. I'm going to use the quadratic form because it says enter your answer as numbers, if necessary, round to the nearest hundreds place. So we won't know if we need to. So in this instance, A is a 1, B is a 9, C is a negative 252. Remember, this is units of measurement. So x equals negative b, yes, I want that. Plus side, I don't want to do a minus sign because it's going to make it more negative. I'm only doing the plus side of it. So b squared, which is b squared minus 4ac over 2a. So we have negative 9 plus 9 squared minus 4 times 1 times the negative 252 divided by 2 times 1. So if we do our math on the inside, we have negative 9 plus 81, because 9 squared is 81. Negative 4 times 1 is negative 4. Negative 4 times the negative 252 results in 1,008. So it's a positive 1,008 divided by 2. Do like terms on the inside, so I'm adding 81 to 1,008, and I get negative 9 plus radical 1,089 divided by 2. We need to see what we get for the square root of 1,089, so second radical, second answer. We'll give you your equation there instead of typing it out again. Gives us an even 33. So we are seeing negative 9 plus 33 divided by 2. So I had $33, I spent 9, gives me 24, and 24 divided by 2 gives me 12. So the x value is 12. The reason I did not use the negative sign is because I would have seen negative 9 minus 33 divided by, so a negative number divided by positive is negative, and we cannot have that. So remember, this is x. X is represented by 12. In our original problem, x is denoted by the width. So the width is 12. The length is x plus 9, so 12 plus 9, which is 21. So the length is 21 miles and your width is 12 miles. Next example. It's a physics problem. So it says a classic physics problem states that if a projectile is shot vertically up into the air with an initial velocity of 180 feet per second from an initial height of 123 feet off the ground, then the height of the projectile, h, in feet t seconds after it's shot is given by the equation h is equal to negative 16t squared plus 180t plus 123. It says find the two answers, the 2 points in time when the object is 163 feet above the ground. Round your answers to the nearest hundredth of a second, 2 decimal places. So we want to find out at what time frames after we shot a rocket on the way up and on the way down, because remember, this is negative and this is a parabola. This is a polynomial, so it's doing this. This is what your rocket is doing. It's going up, hitting its peak, and then coming back down. So I have a same time frame. I want to know the time. Time is on your x-axis for this instance. So at what time did it hit 163? And also on the way back hit 163. So they tell it the initial height is 123 feet. That's why it's in the equation here. But it wants to hit 163 feet above the ground. So that is representing our h. So you take your original equation they give you. You're going to replace h with the 163. So you're going to write 163 equals negative 16t squared plus 180t plus 123. You want to make the left side equal to 0, so you're going to subtract 163 over. So 0 is equal to negative 16t squared plus 180t minus 40, because I had $123 and I spent 163. So I'm negative 40. So we're at this point. Now notice that all of them are even numbers. So 16 does not go into 40, but 4 goes into 40, 16, and 180. So I'm making this smaller to work with for the quadratic. So I'm dividing everything by a 4 to become negative 4t squared. We didn't lose it, it's just been factored out. 180 divided by 4 makes it 45. And negative 40 divided by 4 is negative 10. And so we're just going to use these values in the quadratic formula, just so we have smaller numbers to work with. So t, because that's what we're looking for, is time, negative of 45 plus, number, this is time, so it has to be positive values only. We have 45 squared minus 4 times negative 4 times negative 10 all over 2 times negative 4. So positive. Now here we did normally we do positive. We're going to bring our negative back in just in case that we have a situation where we have a positive on top and a negative on the bottom. So this will distinguish it. So we become negative 45 plus minus 45 squared is 2025. Negative 4 times negative 4 is positive 16. Times a negative 10 is still negative 160 divided by negative 8. We do 2025 minus the 160. So now we have negative 45 plus minus square root of 1,865 divided by negative 8. Determine what square root of 1865 is. So second answer, negative answer. So we're looking at right now negative 45 plus 43.19. I'm going to go 2 decimal places, divided by negative 8. And then negative 45 minus 43.19 divided by negative 8. So in this instance, we had to do both sides for time because we had negative values. So I'm short $45, but found 43 makes me still negative. So negative 45 plus our 43.19 gives me negative 1.81 divided by negative 8. Our first time slot is at 0.23 because it's 0.226, so 0.23 seconds is our first one. And then the next one, negative 45 minus the 43.19 is negative 88.819 divided by negative 8 results at 11.02 seconds. So when the rocket hit a minimum, just 0.23 seconds after liftoff, it was at 163 feet in the air, and on the way back down, after 11.02 seconds, it was back down to 163 seconds.